Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. Our next guest is a fixer. He fixes bars, restaurants, relationships, and now he fixes drinks. Jon Taffer is bringing craft drinks to liquor stores near you with Mixologist. Let's take a look.
I love cocktails. I love the social experience that a cocktail can create. That's why I've worked so hard to create Taffer's Mixologist. The finest ingredients, the finest quality, perfectly balanced. All you need is your favorite spirit, your favorite Taffers, and you're good to go, no matter where you are in any occasion, especially with friends and family. The finest ingredients and the finest quality. Taffer's Mixologist. Freshly dressed and made by the best.
Everybody put your hands together. The legendary Jon Taffer.
Hello. Good to be here, Ricky.
Taffer, good to see you. Thanks for coming by.
My pleasure.
What's going on here?
Well, you know, 185 episodes of Bar Rescue. I got to make
Congratulations.
Thank you.
15 shy of 200. What are you going to
Yes.
do on the 200th?
So 204 is a record.
Wow.
That we're going to cross, and we'll cross that next year, probably in
Record
February.
for reality?
Amount of, for reality, for my type of business transformation reality show. So I thought I'd do a pilot and go home, Ricky. I never thought 9 years later
Well,
that
that's
this would
what I
still be
said to
going
you
on.
backstage. I mean, could you imagine when you did the pilot that you were going to be doing bar rescue, marriage rescue, and you were going to have, you were going to be franchising restaurants, and you were going to have these drinks. You were going to have mixed drinks that you were selling.
Never. Honestly, I thought I'd do a pilot and go home. And I was happy with that. Hey, I would have made a pilot. Pretty cool. So,
John, where were you when you
go.
made the pilot? Like, where were you in your life when you made the pilot?
Well, in my life, I was a food and beverage consultant. I owned a bunch of bars and restaurants at the time. Somebody came up to me and said, "You should be on TV." So I wrote up a little write-up, and I went to a friend of mine who actually ran television for Paramount, which is funny because I'm on a Paramount network now. Yeah. He looked at me and said, "John, you will never freaking be on television." He goes, "You're too old, you're not good looking enough, forget about it." So when he said that to me, it became a vendetta. I said, "Oh, we'll see." So I went out, I shot my own sizzle reel, put it together, brought it to a bunch of production companies. So I brought it to 4 production companies and got 4 offers. Then brought it, and we signed it originally with Spike, which became Paramount, and that was now.
You got 4 offers
ago.
from the 4 production companies you went.
I sent the Sizzle Reel, which is about a 3-minute video that gives you sort of the flavor of the show. I sent that to 4 production companies that I didn't know, cold, and I got 4 offers from those production companies.
Wow.
And then the trick is, you don't always have to take the best deal. You want to do business with the best company. So I chose a deal which wasn't the richest deal that I was offered, but it seemed to be the best quality production company. And you know, you invest in longevity, not the quick hit.
Right.
And
maybe
I think that was a
not
great decision that I made, because working with professionals has helped me keep the show on TV.
Maybe they're not going to give you the biggest check, but they're going to take care of you in the long run. They're
Yes.
going to, yeah.
Yeah, and I'd rather get a smaller check for 185 episodes than a bigger check for 1 episode.
And how long did it take for the show to really start feeling like it was taking off?
So it's funny, when we started, the first season went pretty well, but the first season was only 10 episodes. So at the end of 10 episodes, I said to my agent, I said, "Great, I made it past the first season. So statistically, the second season should be easier to get to, right?" He goes, "No. The amount of shows that make it from season 1 to season 2 statistically is less than the amount of shows that go from pilot to season 1.
Really?
So then I realized, okay, so now my likelihood of season 2 is less. Season 2 was 10 episodes. Season 3 was 42 episodes.
You did 42 episodes in a
1
season?
year. Season 4 was over 50 episodes.
Wow.
And it's about 5 days an episode. So it's over the past 8-9 years, I have over 1,000 shoot days making Bar Rescue. So what people don't realize is when you're in a business like I was, which is a consulting business and operating restaurants and bars, now you're in a television business. Well, television takes all your time.
Yeah.
So now you can't do the other things that you were doing, so you lose money on the other side. So just because you're on TV, if you're successful before you're on TV, it doesn't mean you're making more money because you're on television. Now, I must confess, 8-9 years later, I got a much better deal with a hit show than I did when I started. But the point is that I did have a cost of doing business when I went over to TV. I lost other contracts, I lost other properties, so there was a loss of income in the beginning.
Did you sell your restaurants when the show started taking off, basically?
Yeah.
Wow.
So when the show took off, originally I put the show into my life. By the time I got to the third season at 42 episodes, I now had to put my life into the show.
Yeah.
I had to switch the way I went about it. That's when I moved to the West Coast. I was in Florida. I moved to Las Vegas, moved to the West Coast to change that, and then put the rest of my life into the TV business. And now 9 years later, it's paying off. But, you know,
I would say so. I mean, you are a brand.
I am. But what I've learned is it's much harder to stay on TV than it is to get on TV. And I've learned that. It's a tough business, especially this reality format that I'm in, because I have to create tension every week, right? These are stories. Bar Rescue is actually very Shakespearean, Ricky. Think about it. Person in trouble, resists change, starts to transform, redeems themselves, happy ending. It's about as Shakespearean as it gets. Now, sometimes it's not a happy ending, right? If you've seen Bar Rescue, you know that. But the fact of the matter is, it's a human struggle. And it's subtly struggling with finances and debt and productivity and accountability. And I think that's why it's successful, because it really is about people on a bar backdrop.
Have you ever felt like as you said, staying on TV is a tough business, tougher than possibly even getting on TV. Have you ever felt like going into new seasons, you had to find ways to up the ante, that you had to sort of hit sweeps week or something?
Well, I don't get that pressure for sweeps week. Thank God the show does well.
Yeah.
So my pressure is to make it better, to keep my own interest in very many ways.
How many times can you go to a dive bar and fix it up? You know, so how?
It's 185th recon. The 185th reveal, I need to find something that excites me that 185th time. And at the end of the day, what excites me is the people far more than the bar.
Right.
And that's what the show's sort of become. It's become more and more personal over the years. And it's really much more about the human struggle, if you will, and humanity than the bar itself.
Is that what led to Marriage Rescue, that you found that you were dealing more and more with the people over even the beverages and how the bar shaped up?
Exactly how it happened. And the Marriage Rescue is actually in reverse of the way the business normally works. Normally, somebody like me or a producer would pitch a show to the network. The network pitched this show to me. So what they said is, John, we've been watching Bar Rescue. When we focus group it and test it, we find that the part of the show that the people like, other than you throwing things at people, is relationships. When you fix marriages and fix partnerships and help families, that's really moving. So we'd like to try this Marriage Rescue format. And we just did 6 of them this year. Went very, very well, and we did pick up another season.
Were you nervous about doing that? About going in and being basically a marriage counselor?
Not really. I wasn't. You know, I think that I went in with confidence because I have done it on Bar Rescue so many times. And look, you know, the difference in Marriage Rescue between myself and the therapist is the therapist needs you to come back next week. He needs that next check. I'm only with you for 4 days. There is no next check. I'm going to say the things to you that they won't. I'm going to be far more direct and honest with you. The therapist has to take it slow. If he lays it all on you, you're not coming back, are you? Screw you. Right? He insulted me. He offended me. I'm not coming back. I can offend him all day long because I got him for 4 days. So the intensity of Marriage Rescue was really successful. I did 12 couples. Some of them were already separated and living apart, and 11 of them have either gotten back together again or are still together. So 11 out of 12 is not bad.
Have you seen that there is a couples counseling show coming to Showtime as well right now with an actual marriage counselor?
It's funny, the marriage counselor, before I did Marriage Rescue, and I'm going to get some hate mail for this one. Before I did Marriage Rescue, I said, I want to learn what a therapist does. I want to learn how their process works. I want to learn the things that they focus on, and there are certain elements to a relationship that are critical, right? For example, continuity. If you don't believe it has a future, right, you're not going to invest in it. Right. Love connection is another big one, right? Contribution is another big one. We both got to contribute to the relationship. The relationship has to grow. So in looking at the way therapists do it, I learned about the hot buttons and the things they focus on, like continuity and love connection and things like that. But I also learned that they are so committed to a process that they're more interested in the next step of the process than getting you to the finish line today. And that's the problem with therapy, in my view, is that they're so into this process of taking you down this road of process and talking about your mother when you were 6 years old, even though that might have no relevancy to the situation that you're in. I wasn't committed to process. I was committed to you. I was committed to saying things that you needed to hear. I was committed to directness. I was committed to holding you accountable. And I was prepared to take the ramifications for doing so. The therapist can't. And I found that I was greatly advantaged by focusing on you more than process.
Are you going to watch the therapy show at all and compare and contrast?
Probably not, honestly. And I'll tell you why. I have, and people will be surprised by this, I do a lot of management seminars and a lot of management programs. I've done keynotes all over the world. I have never been to a seminar or a workshop done by somebody else in my entire life. And I say that, and some people say this might be arrogance. Some people would say this might be moronic. I don't want to say someone else's words. I don't want to share someone else's thoughts. I want to create my own original thoughts. I want to create my own original solutions. I want to look at situations and come up with my own phrasing, my own words, and do it my way. So I can tell you over the 9 years of Bar Rescue and 180, I have never used anyone else's words. I have never used somebody else's thoughts. It all is original, and for me, that works. For someone else, that might be the wrong route. But for me, that's been successful. It's kept me authentic, if you will.
So now, with that authenticity, we move into Mixologist, right? Your signature brand of drinks that you are putting out, I believe they are in Walmart across the country, right?
And some liquor stores.
And some liquor stores as well. So what do we got here? We have, what do we have? We have 7?
7 flavors. So we have Bloody Mary, which is killer, by the way. We have Cosmopolitan, Margarita, Mojito, Pina Colada, Skinny Margarita, which is 80 calories, including the liquor. Wow. And then the last one is our Strawberry Margarita mix. So we introduced this in Walmart nationally about 7-8 weeks ago. And we can't keep it on the shelves. It's doing fantastic.
Right, and now you also have these seltzers here as well. These are the sort of these are actual cocktails, right?
And, you know, I've learned so much about this business, and I bet you guys will find this interesting. You never want to drink an unrefrigerated juice from a plastic bottle. When juice is sold unrefrigerated in a plastic bottle, it has to have preservatives in it. When it's sold in a glass bottle, it's hot filled, which means you don't need to put artificial preservatives in it. So that's why you go to the expense of the glass and the extra weight of shipping and all of that.
And it's also better for the environment.
It's better for the environment, of course. But not only is it better for the environment, the ingredients are better. It doesn't have the artificial preservatives. So that's where this came from. Is I know that if anybody had a party, there's nothing better than having a mixologist at your party, right? Pretty cool. So I put it in a bottle. And I did the same level of ingredients and flavors that a great mixologist would so that you can take that quality of flavor home. And that was the passion. It wasn't the mixer. It was taking it to the next level. That was exciting.
Do you work with with the bartenders and the mixers and the creators of these flavors with the same sort of tenacity that you work with a bar on Bar Rescue?
Yeah, I don't throw the can at them if I don't like it. But yes.
But I wanted to know.
But yes, you know, the fact of the matter is, look, in life we have standards. If you allow somebody else to reduce your own standards, you have nothing. So I have to elevate the people around me to the standards that I demand, not lower my standards to the level that they're at. So these flavors were sent back 30, 40, 50 times until we just got it exactly right. But this was fun for me. Because in 185 bar rescues, Ricky, I can't do the same recipe again and again and again. So I've come up with these fun recipes and fun flavors over the years. This is a great one, for example. Cucumber jalapeno. Pretty interesting, huh? Not something that you'd see every day. Strawberry basil is another one that we've worked on. So this started with a passion for flavors. And then I took that passion for flavors and put it into a product. A lot of other people start with the money and then go to the flavors. We started with the flavors and then went to the money.
Did you start as a bartender?
When I went to college, I don't tell this story very often. I went to University of Denver, and I majored in political science. Boy, I'm glad I didn't go in that business, Ricky, these days. But I majored in political science. And
I mean, your yelling could help you, you know?
Maybe.
Throwing things at people, I think.
People say I should go to Washington and shut it down, right? That's what they say. But when I was going to college as a poli-sci major, I started tending bar. And one thing led to another, and I just fell in love with the business. And it just goes to show, you know, life is what happens when you make other plans, right?
Yeah. I have this thing as someone who grew up working in restaurants, have worked in several restaurants over the course of my life. I genuinely do not trust anybody who hasn't spent time in a restaurant, whether they were 15 or they were 22 or 35 years old. It's just a mentality that I feel like if you haven't done it, I wouldn't want you working for me in any capacity.
It's interesting. It's the great stepping stone to life, restaurants.
Yeah.
And when you compare the restaurant industry to other countries, you know, in Europe, people get into the restaurant industry for a lifetime career, right? Even as a host, as a waiter, it's a position of great respect, and it's a lifetime career as a waiter. In America, other than chefs and culinarians, many servers and people get into it as a stepping stone to their next career position. But what a great stepping stone it is. You learn pace, energy, customer service, standards, adherence. So there's a lot of lessons that you learned in that restaurant.
I also feel like you learn how to not take everything too seriously, because everything gets very heated in a restaurant, at least a good restaurant, and everyone comes back together at the end and it's like, well, we got it done.
Yeah, it's also great camaraderie, a real team spirit in a restaurant of really supporting each other. If you haven't done it and you're young, it's an unbelievable experience to do it, to work in a full-service restaurant.
It's a great place to meet people to get drunk with at 3 in the morning when the restaurant closes.
Absolutely, and you notice at 3 in the morning, the customers got much better looking by the hour. Right, you notice?
Well, with Jon Taffer's Mixologist drinks, they'll get really good looking. When you're working on this, I mean, these 3 flavors that you had right here, were these flavors that you had been making and putting together on Bar Rescue?
I have been playing with these ingredients and these flavor profiles for a number of years, sort of perfecting them. The strawberry basil is it's probably my favorite.
Yeah.
And it's fun to combine and create these flavor profiles. When you do something like this, like a cucumber jalapeno, and you create a great profile, this is unique. Nobody else has something like that. Grape, every kind can play with a grape or a vanilla or a pineapple coconut. But these are unique flavors, and that's my passion, is to have you taste something and say, wow, you know, it's not what I expected. Also, when you hear things like strawberry basil, you're curious to taste it, aren't you? Because you don't know exactly what it tastes like. Cucumber jalapeno, you're more curious to taste it than you would be a coconut flavor. Yeah. You can almost anticipate the coconut, but you can't anticipate the others.
How often do you get asked what the hardest bar to rescue was, or if there were bars that you had to walk away from?
Well, I walked away from 2 on TV.
Yeah.
One of the ones that I walked away from on TV, about 4 months later, the owner was arrested for harassment of an employee, so that sort of made my walkout feel much, much better, because I didn't want to perpetuate his violence. That was the O-Face episode, if anybody has seen that one, which was probably the most famous walkout. Then the second one was the Dugout in Chicago, which was an interesting one. That was Smiling Ed, I called him. This guy owned a bar, and for an hour-and-a-half stress test, all Ed had to do was smile once. That was his objective. He didn't have to lift up one glass. Smile once in an hour and a half. Ed could not do it. So I gave him the nickname Smiling Ed, and he didn't quite get his full rehab either. The most difficult ones, unfortunately, are the best episodes. Headhunters is a great example, where I went in with my wife, did recon, and she has open-toe shoes, and as we're sitting at the bar, she feels the roaches walking across the top of her feet. So she got up and stormed out, and then I went at it with the owner. That was disgusting.
Yeah.
Physically disgusting.
Where was that again?
That was in Austin, Texas.
Right.
There are other episodes where I've actually, off camera, had to put garlic powder on my tongue and then breathe through my nose when I'm in the kitchen so I don't throw up from the odor. That's how bad it smelled. I've been in kitchens and felt mice run into my feet under the equipment, you know, running around on the kitchen floor. So I've seen mushrooms the size of your head, Ricky, growing out of walls. I've seen black mold. The things that I've seen over the years are shocking. When I started this show, I said to the network, I want failures. I don't want to see the casting reel. I don't want to go to these places in advance. I don't want to meet these people. When I do Bar Rescue, I get a 60-second briefing. That's it. I know nothing. All I know is they're losing X amount of money a month. They're in a hole X amount of dollars. The husband's ready to kill the wife. Wife's ready to kill the husband. They have enough money to make it 3 or 4 more months. And that's all I know when I go in. I know nothing else. And that's what keeps the show real. Because when I find things out, you find it out too. I don't know it before you do. And I think that's a lot of the authenticity. So when I walk into those situations, I don't know what I'm walking into. So some of it is just shocking, that the things that you see, not only physically, but the attitude of people is sometimes shocking.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how often do you find, okay, we're going to rehab the restaurant because, you know, that's what we have to do. That's the show. We need an ending. But I don't have that much faith in this bar, in this owner or the employees here really keeping it up, and this place is probably going to be shut down relatively soon.
You know, yes, and I know that. Also, there are things that work against us. For example, just a couple weeks ago, I was doing an episode, and I had to write a check for $2,800 to keep their lights on while I was still shooting. So now I'm going to remodel this business. I'm going to set them up for success. I'm going to give them inventory, training, new sign, new interior, all of that. And then I'm going to leave in 3 weeks. Their electricity is going to be turned off again. So how do they succeed until that episode airs? When the episode airs, people come and they're dug out. But it's typically 8 to 10 weeks before it airs. So some of them have tax problems. Yeah. Right after I leave, the tax man knocks on the door. A couple of times I've remodeled the bar, and the tenant who owned the bar was behind on the rent. So the landlord evicted them just to get the new bar. So, you know, we've had very
Smart
strange
landlord.
things. Smart landlord. He's got a brand new bar, Taffer bar. Let's throw him out. He hasn't paid his rent. I'll rent it for twice as much.
Fix the bar. That'll be great. Yeah, we'll keep it open.
So those are the kind of things that happen, unfortunately. And, you know, Ron White, the comedian, has a great line, "You can't fix stupid," which is a really great line. So many of these owners have made thousands of decisions that got me there in the first place. They're not going to suddenly make great decisions when I leave.
Have you found that even after the episode airs, they get dug out or they start getting dug out because, you know, people are showing up, they still can't put it together, they still can't put one foot in front of the other and sort of keep the pace up?
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Sometimes their ego gets in the way. You know, other things get in the way. But, you know, when I leave, in many cases, I know that what I left them will work. I know it because I've been doing this for so many years. I've got a heck of a track record. So it's logical to say, after I've done 1,000 of these, that I probably have a better sense of what will work than they will. The most frustrating thing is when I leave, when they put back the old stuff. And you wonder, you know, if everybody tells you that you look terrible in blue, you look terrible in blue, you look awful in blue, why would you go buy a blue jacket? I mean, it makes no sense.
Like they put back the stuff that you've taken out of the bar. Yeah. You're not talking about like a metaphor for like they bring back the bad behavior.
They put up the old sign and they go back to, and somehow they think that that's going to make them successful. It's astonishing, Ricky.
You take that personally? I would take that personally.
In the beginning, I did.
Yeah.
Now I let them do what they want. Here's the way I look at it. I'm going to take their ship. I'm going to balance it. I'm going to make it true. I'm going to paint it. I'm going to put new equipment in it. I'm going to give them a map. I'm going to give them the keys. I can't stop them from driving it into a reef.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do.
I think we have time for a couple questions from the audience. Who has a question, right? Someone has a microphone? You, sir?
Yes. Okay. Yes, I want to say thank you for going to Puerto Rico and do some rescues.
Oh, that meant a lot to me.
Yes, thank you. My question is, are you planning to do any follow-ups over there?
Well, I'll tell you, we did. When I shot Marriage Rescue, we were in Puerto Rico for 6 weeks. I shot that show in Puerto Rico, too. And in as much as I didn't talk about the hurricane and the problems in Puerto Rico, I fed the economy for 6 weeks, bringing my crew and all my production teams down there. So, yes, I've followed up. I speak to Janet and Victor all the time. I was nervous as hell over the last hurricane. Unfortunately, the Bahamas got it. But Puerto Rico is very dear to my heart. When I was 4 and 5 years old, my parents actually, I was born here in New York. My parents moved to Puerto Rico for a year, and they were developing some property there. So when I was 5, 6 years old, I didn't speak Spanish, but I played with all the Puerto Rican children on my street. So I always remembered the family feeling of Puerto Rico as a young boy playing there and having dinner with Puerto Rican families. So it's always been a very dear place to me. So going down there and helping was an honor for me. And I went down there, for those of you that haven't seen it, I went down there after Hurricane Maria, and I rebuilt the town. I rebuilt the baseball field, the basketball court, the community center, and the bar. And it was the greatest couple weeks of my life. I created great relationships with the kids, too.
I want to say thank you.
Oh, it's my honor, my pleasure.
One more? Right here.
Hi, John. My name is Haley Fitzpatrick. Very exciting to talk to you. My dad is in the bar business. He started collecting college bars, specifically in college towns. So as
collecting college bars.
Yeah,
that's an interesting phrase.
5 now. One went from 1 to 5. So
Good for him.
yeah. So as you know, the bar business can be pretty nitty gritty. I'm glad we didn't meet under different circumstances. We do love bar rescue though. But I was curious to see what advice do you give to people who are jumping from, for instance, liquor and beer to your line? Like that, just a big jump in a different career, different angle.
Jumping beer, wine, too?
No, like jumping to like a different industry. Like you took a big hop from dive bars to this. So what advice would you give to people struggling or just jumping into something totally different from what they're used to?
First of all, I'm not a believer of jumping till I know what the temperature of the water is.
Okay.
right? So I put my foot in before I jump generally. When we're going into a new business and you're going from a dive bar into, let's say, a casual dining or a more formal environment, if we will, standards change, service sequences change, product quality changes, cooking time changes. One can't relate to that until they're exposed to it. So I would always suggest to somebody, be a waiter there for a month. Work as a bartender there for 2 months. Understand the processes, the flows, the differences in standards. For example, and you guys will find this interesting, pick a Denny's or a 3-meal-a-day kind of restaurant. The lights are bright, and the waiters walk really fast, don't they? Pick a fine steakhouse. The lights are low, and the waiter walks slow, doesn't he? If that waiter walks faster in that steakhouse, that steak isn't worth $60 anymore. If the lights are too bright in that steakhouse, that steak isn't worth $60 anymore. So just the science of pace is critical. In a casual bar, you move quickly. In the slow bar, you move slowly.
How did you adjust for this, though? I mean, obviously, this has to do with working with the right people, finding with the right people that you want to work with, that you trust. But what experience did you have going from sort of consulting in restaurants and bars to sort of working on this, which is like a bulk idea?
It's an evolution, and it takes courage. And the biggest thing that holds us back is fear. That was the subject of my book, Don't BS Yourself. You know, we're typically scared of doing things that millions of other people have already done, except standing on the side of a cliff, of course. I don't suggest we jump off a cliff. But fact of the matter is, I can't be scared of these things. So when I went into the television business, I wasn't 22 years old. So I had to go into it and choose the best production company, as I said earlier. So I had people around me that could prop me up and teach me. When I went into this business, I chose the right partners. I chose Walmart as my retail partner. If I can get in Walmart's, it's a home run. There's so many of them. They're such a powerful retailer. So you can't be scared of what's new, but you have to go at it in a calculated way. So I believed so much in my flavors, Rick, and my own brand that I know I can make this successful. I know when you taste it, you will want another one.
How did you find out? How did you find out the temperature of the water before you jumped in?
Well, you have to feel it out. You have to work in the business. You have to learn. You have to taste, in this case, every other product on the market. You have to know what's selling where. You got to do your homework to mitigate that fear. And that's how you test the water. I've never been in the consumer products business before. So this was an entrance into consumer products. But I was lucky. I built a brand. So most people that get into a business like this, you never heard of them before. They have to build a brand and a product and distribution all at the same time. Well, at least I had the brand.
Yeah.
So it starts with a brand. All I have to do is deal with the distribution and the retail. So it's a leap. But figure out a way to put your toe in the water first so you know how far to leap. Make sense? Yes. And you know what you're leaping into. And then don't be scared. Then jump.
Jon, it's a pleasure talking to you. It's always fun talking to you. Taffer's Mixologist is in Walmarts and liquor stores across the country, right?
And you can go to taffersmix.com, and it has all the locations for the seltzer, which is growing, obviously, every day.
Absolutely. Jon Taffer, everybody. Let's hear it.
Thanks, everybody. This was fun.